Hi guys, how's it going? I'm Isaac and I am Chef Dev, and we're doing something a little bit different today. I am going to be showing you something that I literally just discovered like right now, and I think it's really cool. It's to do with sound. Up until this point I've just been sort of like controlling sound with the individual controls on the audio stream player, and that's worked for the most part, but I've been looking at implementing like menus and options and stuff like that for my game, and it's sort of growing, and I wanted to add in some volume controls. And I was doing some research and I just discovered the audio bus and how powerful it was, and I thought, hey, that's a great idea, should just make a video about that. So I just I whacked this webcam on. It's like 1,000 years old. Hopefully it looks okay, and we're just gonna go in live and see how it goes. Okay, so I've got a really basic scene here. It is, there's just not a lot. We've got a couple of sounds. We don't even have a sound manager singleton at all. It is literally just a menu with a couple of buttons, and the sounds here. I've got another scene that we can load into. It's also got some music and sound. And so down here, like if you're playing around with audio, you'll see this option up here, audio. And if you click into that, you've got basically what looks like a mixer. If you're familiar with any audio software, these sliders, you can add effects alongside it. It's basically a full DAW in Godot, which is really sick. So you can add as many buses as you want, and you can route any audio through any bus. And this is really powerful because it means that you want to have like a sound manager singleton probably, but you don't necessarily need one to control audio for your players. So you can just route things through certain buses, and there you have it. You have a way of controlling audio universally throughout your project without having to worry. So I've got this here. It's like a really basic project. You can see I've got basically pressed signals, confirmations to quit, just all that kind of stuff. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up an option, and we're just going to set up a single slider to control that master bus. I'll show you how. It's really easy. It's like 2 lines of code. So what we're going to do is just make a new options menu here that will pop up when we press the options button. So let's begin there. What we first need to do is just click here, and I'm just going to add a VBox because that's sort of what I'm doing in this project, just keeping it simple. I'm going to call that options. That's super simple. I'm going to just slide that up so it's above, and I'll give it a V center like I have with the other one. So this is a really cool option thing too. I think they only just recently added that in 3.4. I don't know if it was there before, but ever since I've discovered it, it's sort of the best thing ever when it comes to making UI in Godot. Okay, so next I'm just going to do a label into that, and we probably just want to hide that, and we'll call that options. Okay, let's do that. Alignment center, and we probably want to put them to the center. That is going to make a lot more sense for you. Okay, we're going to come back up here, and we're going to add another label actually, and we're just going to call this volume easy. Come up here again, and we want the H slider. I'll type it in here so you guys can see what I'm doing. H slider, and it's probably going to look pretty small here. Okay, and I'm just going to make this a little bit wider by messing around with these margin options here. I'll make that -100 and 100 so that we've got a bit more slider to play with, and I'm just going to call this master slider in case we want to add some more. Okay, that, and what we're going to do is value changed is the signal you want. Changed isn't. They do a little bit of different things. If you've got like ticks and stuff like that, so you want value change. So you can see emitted when a value change is emitted when the min, max, and page step change. So that's like if you, I don't know, change something in code. I'm not too sure, to be honest, but value is the one you want. Anyway, so the other thing we need to play around with here is the min and the max values. So if you don't know, on most sound mixing stuff, it starts at 0 dB and to reduce the sound, you go into the negatives, and it can go all the way down to -80. You don't have to do that on your slider, and to be honest, I find that, you know, -80, I mean, okay, so like maybe I'm not the best judge because I am actually hearing impaired, but -80 is too far down. You will get to like maybe, you know, 60% and you'll stop hearing anything from your slider anyway. So I like to sort of leave it around like 45, 50. You may still be able to hear it, but very faintly. And you can, you know, mess with stuff like adding an extra bus so that if you really want to turn it off, or you could even put like a checkbox here just to like mute the entire bus altogether. That's possible too. Maybe we can cover that. So I'm going to go with min value -45, max value 0. Step can stay at 1. That's fine. And obviously now that we've made our max value 0 and this is 0, it's at the top, which is what we want because we're starting at 0 dB. So now that I've connected that up, we've got a master slider value. So what we want to do here is actually get access to the audio server and then just pass in that value. So what I'm going to do is just call the audio server directly. We don't need to store that anywhere. It's a singleton that exists and that you can access anytime in code. So we're going to go audio server.set bus volume dB, and it wants a bus index and it's an integer. For this purpose we can just pass in 0 because we don't have any others, and the volume dB, and that will be our value, if I can spell it properly. Okay, and that is literally all you need to do to affect this bus, and we don't even need to, like, we'll just leave this as set up and we can just hit play, and you can tell already that's working perfectly. I can still very faintly hear that. We can work around with that. If you wanted it to just mute, we know the value that that's giving off. So let's go back to our slider, -45. I don't know if there's a particular signal that we can utilize for if it's, yeah, okay. No, but we can do that in code, right? So just, you know, if value is equal to 45, then audio server dot set bus mute, and I'm pretty sure we just go 0 again and true. Trier. Okay, I can't spell. I got the microphone in my way. Okay. And I can't hear anything. I'm pretty sure it's working. It didn't crash. Still comes back, and that's kind of fascinating. And that is -45. There you go. And that shouldn't, yeah, now it's working. Awesome. Okay, so you also have to go like else, if I can spell. Let's just copy this because it'll be a little quicker. False. Cool. And we, for like the sake of neatness, just put that in there. How easy is that? That's freaking amazing that you can just control it so easily, and that'll work. Say for example, okay, let's set this up. We're going to need a couple more things here. We'll come up here, we'll add a button, and we'll just call this back. Keep it nice and simple. We'll connect up that signal, and on options pressed, this is just on button press, nice and clear what that does. So we'll just go, I believe I have main menu stored in this as a variable. Main menu, yes I do. Once again, if I can spell it correctly, dot show options exit dialog. I don't have that. Let's just quickly grab it. Options menu, so you just add that. Options menu equals dollar options. Options, okay. Hide. Okay, and on the options menu, we're going to do the exact same thing. We'll just reverse it. Okay, let's set this up so it's like that from the first. And we can turn this down. So see, this is affecting the volume. Now this is universal, which is the most powerful thing. Right now, this music is coming from that audio stream player. And we're going to drop in the test scene. It's got different music. What you can tell is it's the same level as before, which is just amazing. Like there's no, you know, change in volume. If I replay this from the start, you can see it's much louder, probably for you and also for me. I might even have to make adjustments to this because this is actually pretty loud. And start this one is also like hella loud. So you can tell that it's working just from that. And so that to me is just like, I can't believe this is possible. It's just so good. So you can do a lot with this. You could set up a whole level of things with this. You could get really fancy if you make a sound manager, and you could set up some really cool functions, say even with your focus. So here's something that I think is really cool. So you want to do like you've got like a special focus sound when you're like hovering over options with your menu. It's kind of cool. It adds like a little bit of extra like sound to it. So I think this click 20 is the one I decided to use. Yep, cool, sounds good. And we'll add a new bus. This is what we'll do. We'll add 2 new buses. We'll call one FX and we'll call one music. And we'll make to pass this one into music, and we'll do the same on the test scene. Pass this one to music. And you could probably already guess I'm going to have button press as well. Let's add that. Goes to FX. And we'll go with special 2, I think is the one I chose for that. Sounds very nice. Super loud. I might even put like an extra dampening on this. And you know, now that you know about this, you can sort of think about this as like an individual control. Almost as if you wanted to normalize the volumes between things. Like you probably want most of your sounds to be the same volume regardless. I'm pointing, I don't have the camera on me. Regardless of these buses, if your volumes on your individual tracks are different, you need to like normalize them, and what that means is just make them the same volume. So this is what you should be using this for, and the buses is what you should be using to control your volumes, because that just gives you global control and it'll make your sound consistent across all your projects. So let's keep going with this. We don't need to have that playing. The music auto plays, that's fine. We've got focus. And so we've got a bunch of things going on here. I'm going to set up a function here called focus entered, even though that's not the signal we're going to use. And I'm going to probably need to get access to that variable, that sound player. Focus player equals $focus. It's capital. And then we'll just go focus player dot play. That's all it'll do. And keep in mind, like I've said a couple of times now, this is a really simple representation of what you might want to do. Most likely, if you're doing a main project, you're going to have an audio controller or a sound manager, singleton, something like that, probably controls all of this stuff. But for the sake of this, it's just way better if we're just doing it here. So we've got focus.play. So we just want to trigger that with all our option buttons and stuff. So we're just going to come along here. We'll probably speed this part up because I'm going to do mouse entered. And we'll just go, what's the name of that function? I'll probably just copy it, focus entered, and just connect up that. This is a really cool trick as well. If you don't know, you can just put the receiver method in as anything you want. So it'll help for things like buttons, where in this case, we want them all to do the same thing when we're doing focus entered. Oh, that's not even the right. That's not even the right signal. We actually want to use mouse entered. So we want them all to do the same thing. So just do that, and it'll connect it to this. And so I'm just going to work through this, and I'll be back in a second. And I'll also add the button press. Oh, that's good typing. Button press. Just call it something like that. Now you might wonder why I have two of these. It's just because, you know, a lot of sound effects, they need to trigger like close to each other at the same time. So you can't have just one sound player doing it. You need two. And there's different ways you can do that. You could have these in an array and have them switching between one another. Just going the simple route, just having two and just calling them at different points in time. So we'll just go, all it just needs to go is button player dot play. That's all we're going to do. We won't do anything fancy there. Options pressed. I think I've covered them all. On button press. Pressed. I think I've got them. So now I've got that option sound and this is obviously a case for having a sound manager, singleton. When I hit that start button, the sound doesn't play, it just goes to the next scene. Anyway, now you know. So what's next? Now that we've set all that up, we want to expose these options. And how we do that, it's really going to be up to you. What I would suggest you do is just store constants as the, you know, music bus. We'll just call it music bus, and then store it as a string, and it's just called music fx underscore bus, and store that as a string, just so that you don't have to remember 0, 1, 2 or whatever. As long as they're named appropriately, we can do some tricky stuff. Okay, so we've got the master slider. That can stay the same. We're going to add some more. We'll just hide that and add this. So we'll change this to master volume. And we're just going to duplicate these two twice over. Change this label to music volume, and then change this label to FX volume. Okay, and we're going to need to change the name of these. We'll change this to music slider, and we'll change this to FX slider. Okay, and then we're going to need to reconnect the signals. Just disconnect that, redo that, disconnect that, and redo that. Now, okay, so the reason I said const is because there's another function we can use with the audio server. It takes an int to find the bus, but if you want to, so what I would say with this particular technique is you would set up a sound manager and you would probably store these particular buses as constants and just reference them with the string text. That way you don't need to remember, like, I'm pretty sure you can change the order. Yeah, you can. So like, as long as you've got the name right and you're storing that as constant, you're always going to be able to find it. You can use this technique here, bus int, and you can go audio server get bus channel bus index, and it wants the name, and so this is the music slider, so I'm going to type and pass in the music bus, and then we can do the exact same thing as before. We can just call audio server dot set bus volume db, and we're going to call in the bus int, and the value will be the value. Okay, and then we can do the exact same thing for the FX slider. We'll just pass in a different one, which will be the FX bus, and it's as simple as that. That's literally it. And so we can just go back to the main menu, reset this. I'll pray it works because I'm talking it up like crazy. How cool is that? That one's not working. What have I done wrong? FX. I would say most likely is that these aren't being routed. Oh, they are. This one's not. There's your problem. And that's the other thing you're going to need to remember, is that you need to make sure that whatever you're trying to control, so if you set this up, you have to be very strict about the way you set your sound up, is that you're always passing them through the buses you expect them to be modified from. Because the user is going to, use these sliders, they're not going to know how these things are mapped. So when they, change that FX slider, you better make sure that your effects are like mapped to that bus with this technique. Okay, cool. Let's try that again. How cool is that? I can't even hear it. Turn that music down. And there you have like a master volume. You've got your music slider. You've got your FX, and it's going to be global. It's going to pull through to everything. It's freaking sick. And then all you really would do, what I would do, is save this options menu as a scene and have it available in all your menu UIs so that you can access this. It does the same exact shit. Maybe move this script down, have a sound manager. It's so easy. I can't believe it. Okay. Am I still in? I'm out of focus. Okay guys, that's it for this one. It's a little bit different this time. I sort of just went off a little bit unhinged with this. I just thought it was so cool that you can just control audio so easily in Godot. It really is that simple. Maybe next time we can set up a sound manager together. Let me know what you think. I just thought I'd let you know as well, I recently set up a Ko-fi or a Ko-fi. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, but if you want to support me through that, you certainly can. I'll put the link down in the description. If you make a one-off donation or if you join as a member, I've got exclusive content going out on another channel. It's not much, it's just me coding in the morning, talking shit and just being silly. But, I'll just make it available to people that decide to donate to me, because it's really amazing that anyone would even do that. And I don't really expect you to. So it's just an extra option. Oh, I'm sweating. Other side, it's inverted. It's really hot here. Yeah, so that's it. Have a good week, guys. I'll see you next time.